morning and welcome to The Point. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9 and the viewers on Party Grenada and Go to FET Facebook pages and Party Grenada website. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. This morning, my guest is the Deputy Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, Mr. Kennedy Roberts. Good morning, Mr. Roberts. How you do?
Good morning. I'm officially on vacation for a few weeks, and so I'm feeling nice and relaxed, even though I'm still doing work, but I'm officially on leave for the next 6 weeks, so you might see a lot more of me.
I envy you. I envy that little vacation. Share some with me now. Oh gosh, again, so...
Borrow one.
Borrow. Okay, borrow a day. So let's get into it, Mr. Roberts. Thank you again for joining us. And this morning, of course, we'll start with health-related matters because I know that's one of your passions, of course. And before we get into one of the most recent topical issues, vaccine, I wanted to ask your thoughts on a situation that is approximately 5 days old. On Friday, we heard of the resignation of the acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Francis Martin, which becomes effective April 1st, which is next week, please the Lord. Share your thoughts on what do you think his resignation probably means for going forward in relation to health, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic period.
Okay, thank you again, Blossom, and greetings to the listeners wherever you are. And this issue that you raised first here is one that we have to wait and hear Dr. Martin's side of the story. But I know Dr. Martin pretty well. He did the Masters in Public Health at St. George's University, where I am. So he was my student, and we have a pretty good relationship. And one of the things I know about him, he has a very high ethical standard. He does not like to do things that he's uncomfortable with. At times, he has to be very diplomatic in terms of what he says, but he's an extremely knowledgeable person. What I appreciate about Dr. Martin is his understanding of the health system. Even though he's a medical doctor, he appreciates the factors that contribute to people getting sick. So I know that instinctively, when he was chief medical officer, his push towards trying to revive primary health care was met with some difficulties. When he was given the responsibility of a permanent secretary, which is primarily an administrative position, I felt that Grenada lost our Dr. Fauci. I felt that Grenada lost a person who was guiding the issue of COVID in a direction that was beneficial. For example, I know that he was very interested in having a multi-sectoral approach to the governance of this COVID situation. And I'm sure that he would have had difficulty when he did not see certain entities more involved in the issue relating to the management of COVID. So I wait to hear what Dr. Martin is going to say, but we are going to lose a good public health physician, a public health practitioner in the public service, but I know his service to Grenada is not lost because wherever he lays his hands, I'm sure he's going to thrive. So I wish him well, and the NDC wishes him well, but this is just an indication based on all the old talk about what is really going on in our public service. We're seeing a real reduction in the quality of people's perception of the services within the public sector. We're seeing a level of frustration among public officers, among public workers throughout the system with the issue with the teachers and the public workers and the pension and the 4%, we see these things as preventing the civil service from performing efficiently. And I want to state here that the NDC is in full solidarity with the teachers and public workers in their struggle for a better quality of life, for a better wage, something that they have earned, negotiated, agreed upon. And this government is using their 15-0 in Parliament to bully the country. But I believe the people of Grenada are ready for something different. And this is why the NDC is putting a lot of emphasis on trying to put its house in order. We are pretty aware of all the issues being discussed about the leadership and the issues within the party, but the party is trying to pull together a team that will unite Grenada, because together we are stronger. We have to look at the bottom line. Grenada needs better governance, it needs better leadership, and while the NDC has its difficulties, I think the majority of Grenadians are clear that we are going to have change whenever the next election is called.
And as you speak, before I go on, by way of information, when contacted yesterday, Dr. Martin has advised the GBN newsroom that he's not ready yet to speak out. So as soon as he's able to give an official statement, don't worry, we'll share it with you, just for information for our viewers and listeners. Mr. Roberts, you mentioned the NDC moving forward, and you just mentioned, which I picked up, while NDC may have its difficulties. What kind of difficulties the NDC is going through right now?
Now, first of all, Grenada is going through a lot of difficulties. The world is going through a lot of difficulties, and a lot of households are going through difficulties. A lot of organizations are going through difficulties. So it is not unique to the NDC to be going through the struggles that is currently taking place throughout the world, the country, the region, in families and organizations. We want to also acknowledge that NDC lost the 2 elections back-to-back, 15-0. We have to appreciate that candidates lost back-to-back elections. We've had Brother Nazim Burke resigning as political leader. We saw Brother Andel in an interim capacity. We saw Sister Franca coming. Because of her realities and her health issues, she decided to step back. We have Brother Persuader in this position now. So it is not something that I have to try and hide and duck, that the NDC does not have a clearly defined leader right now. We have Brother Persuader as our acting political leader, and we know that our traditions, you wait till a convention to elect your leader. So while some call him interim, some call him acting, he is the current leader of the party now, and we have to work towards building a team that will show Grenadians we have confidence in moving forward. We also have to be aware that NDC has a history of issues pertaining to leadership. From its creation in 1987, when Brother George Brizan and Francis Alexis were basically the joint leaders. It evolved in Brother Nicholas Braffett becoming the leader and then Prime Minister in 1990. We saw him handing over to Brother Brizan. We saw a lot of changes in leadership within the NDC, while when you look at the NNP, they have had one leader since 1989, when Dr. Mitchell became the leader of the NNP. So we have to face that as a reality. What we also have to face as a reality is that there are a lot of people who want to get involved in politics, but who are hesitant because of the nasty way in which we have divided our country. It is very difficult for people to step forward and say, let me contribute, because of the victimization that they feel it's going to fall on them. We have a lot of people who are afraid in the private sector to even make a donation because they're afraid that the government will target them and pressure them. So that mood in the country is making it difficult for the NDC to really attract people in the front line. But what I can tell you, there are a lot of Grenadians who want to see change. There are a lot of Grenadians who are listening, especially now that we're in the 4th year of this administration. They're waiting to see what is going to happen. And I believe the time is upon us when the NDC must make some very tough decisions as to who is going to pick up that mantle. We're reaching out to work within the country with Grenadians in the diaspora. We want to pull together a united team, a coalition against this government that can really show Grenadians that we can come together and unite. NDC has had its problem. They lost the election in 2013 because of disunity with Peter David and Chester and so being expelled from the party. We saw the result in that, and we have to really be objective and put Grenada first, because Grenada doesn't want an NDC leader. Grenada wants a national leader. And once somebody emerges to play that role, I am sure that the majority of Grenadians will rally around that person, around that leader. The NDC will pull together a team to rally around that leader, because we have a history too of we want to know who that person in the front line is. So I'm praying and asking God for the guidance, because we need some spiritual intervention too, because we all know, go back to Romans chapter 13, that God plays a serious role in determining who our leaders are. So we are praying and asking God to give guidance to Grenada, put a hand on Grenada and help us go through this difficult economic and it's a social challenge. So all NDC can do now is continue working in the trenches. We are in the communities. We're getting things done. We're putting the structures in place, because it is critical to have an organized structure, an organized vision and plan. So when you go out there, the Grenadian people will see that you're not pappy showing them and bullshitting, but you're willing to come and make not promises, but plans that would be the interest of all Grenadians.
Has a date been set yet for the NDC convention?
Well, we have our General Council very soon. This is the first step. Our convention is usually in the latter part of the year. Nothing is cast in stone, and at our General Council, we will make a decision on the date of the next convention. But we're having our General Council to review our constitution. We have developed a strategic plan. We have a lot of the brain work documented, because one of the things, again, we have to acknowledge the importance of planning, and that's why the NDC was part of the National Sustainable Development Plan 2020 to 2035, and we have participated and contributed to a lot of the content. We support a lot of the content, but we also realize that this government is not implementing what is recommended. And for example, the two mega projects in Mount Hartman and Rivera are not consistent with the sort of vision that the plan says we want for Grenada.
In addition to the election of a new leader, whenever the convention is held, why do you think there are people out there that does not have much confidence or does not show much confidence for the NDC? How can the NDC win the favor of especially the voting public?
We have to realize that based on the last several elections, NDC has a good 23,000 supporters who came out and vote, around 40% of the electorate. We realize that in Grenada, we have a two-party system, and any third party that emerges now would have difficulty in winning an election, and it would just be putting back a high priority probability of the same going on. We also have to realize that people are still scared of the nasty politics, but I believe that our approach now to working on the ground, talking to the people at the constituency level, getting key persons within the community to appreciate the importance of Grenada's future, and acknowledging that it is not about one person. So whereas Dr. Mitchell must run again because he doesn't have a choice, he's the only person in the NNP that wins all 15 seats for them. None of the other candidates, and I have no apologies, none, not even Dr. Clarence Modest in St. Mark's at this stage, can be confident that they can win their seat without Dr. Mitchell's involvement. And that is why the Grenadian people will acknowledge that, listen, something is wrong. Dr. Mitchell has been there for 25 years with his little cohort around him. And that is just saying that no other Grenadian has the capacity to build a team to work towards Grenadians' development. When we talk in a little while about 42 years since the revolution, for us who have been involved, and we would see that Grenada has not really prospered, especially under Dr. Mitchell's leadership here. So what we want to do now is to continue pushing forward. All we have is the now. We're going to work every day. And as I say, I'm on vacation for the next 6 weeks. And a lot of my time will be put into understanding why, to answer your question, why there are people out there who might be hesitant to step forward. And I'm pretty confident that within the next few weeks and months, by the end of this year, I am confident that we will be poised to be able to take on an election and be successful despite the 50-0 back-to-back.
All right, let's look now into the health portion of things these days. Right now, the vaccination program is rolling out by government with the AstraZeneca jab. How does the NDC see this portion of Grenada's fight against the COVID-19, as well as yourself, as we roll out the vaccines?
All right, now, as we all know the little history of NDC not being involved in the committee who deals with COVID at the national level. Minister Steele called me definitely personally, and he told me go on another committee, implying he doesn't want me on that committee as the NDC's representative. So we have not been involved. However, we've continued to advocate for the hand washing, the social distancing, the mask. I am a public health professional, and I understand the importance of public health. And I know for decades, hand washing has been promoted, and it was not gathering momentum. I hope that we continue with this behavior, even post-COVID, to get into the habit of washing our hands regularly, sneezing and so in our arms, and the mask wearing now is a precaution. However, we have also sent out a press release a few weeks ago when the vaccination program started. Even though we put it out publicly and so on, the government never even acknowledged that, okay, the NDC has indicated a support of the vaccination program. We continue to advocate that people make decisions based on their comfort level. Health has a lot to do with your mental health. And if I think I am sick about something, I'm going to feel that way. So we have to respect people's ability to make decisions for themselves. For example, I am not an anti-vaxxer, but I have not taken the vaccine as yet. My household has been vaccinated, but I have not personally taken it as yet, and I have my reasons, and you have to respect my decision. If we're following the science and we want to talk about the science, you cannot spread COVID if you do not have it. So once we put attention at the borders, once we manage who comes in, because if we don't have it in the country, it can only come in from outside. So we have to start working with confidence with the science. So yes, we taking our precautionary measures, but we have to work towards getting back to some level of normalcy. So we appreciate the importance of the vaccine. We are aware that there are other vaccines there that might become available soon that some of us might have more confidence in. I've said it publicly that I have more confidence in the Cuban vaccine that is being developed than in most of the others that are currently out there. And even though the Cuban one is not totally ready, based on my following of the situation, I have confidence to say that, and that is my opinion. I have to be respected. If I have to travel to a country where they say I have to be vaccinated to enter, I will take the vaccine. I have done it before. I have gone to Suriname where they said I have to take yellow fever vaccine. I went, it didn't have in the health center. I bought it privately. I went to the health center. It was administered. I have my certificate to show. So I understand what happened. But at the same time, I have to respect people's understanding of the science. And if I don't have it and you don't have it, why tell me I cannot work in your company? So we have to strike that balance between making it mandatory, as Minister Steele said they're favoring, and respecting the rights of people. And at some point in time, I think these issues are going to be clearer, because it definitely isn't very clear to a lot of people.
The concerns that have been expressed re the AstraZeneca vaccine, some of which I guess health officials have said, they no longer have those concerns. Is the NDC concerned with the blood clot, maybe the allergic reaction, the after effects and so on?
The world is concerned. Everybody have even you When you hear about it, you must express a little concern. However, I go with the science. I have seen the subsequent reports. So up to yesterday, I was reading a new one coming out saying that there is no link between the vaccine and the clot. I know of a person who recently has not taken the vaccine but had a blood clot. So I know that in routine life, these things happen. And I am not going to speculate and breed any conspiracy, but I believe NDC as a responsible organization is going to listen and look at the science. Who would disagree that this is a relatively new thing? This new Pfizer and Moderna vaccine in the US, it's the first time they're using this mRNA technology. It is the first time. They've been studying it for years. And that is why a lot of people are concerned, and they have a right to be. As human beings, we cannot all be thinking about things in the same way. No matter how much you're bullied by others and say you must do this and you must do that, a lot of thinking people understand that they also have a right, and especially if, unlike, and in public health, there's a famous case of TB in Boston in 1905, where they made the TB vaccine mandatory. Because if you have a contagious disease that is spreading, the government on public health law has that ability to take certain measures. But if you're telling me the science says we do not have COVID in Grenada, we know how it can come in and we're taking precautions to monitor our border. Why are you trying to build fear and have a state of emergency and institute that level of fear in people's mind? Because mental health is one of the big problems that we have in COVID. They're pushing for people to take vaccine. What are they doing to help people cope with the difficult economic situation that are sending people crazy? People are going through depression now because they have to stay home with their kids and they cannot earn as they want to be. We have people under stress because this government has promised us oil and gas and things getting better, but where is it? The people of Grenada has lost trust. We can't trust them. Where is the national health insurance? We can't trust them. Where is the improved roads? We can't trust them. Where is the young people's jobs and opportunities? We can't trust them. Where is the money they take to pay for Grenlec? They're lying about it. We cannot trust them. So this government has lost the trust of the people. They have shown that the governance is in chaos. They've put so many contract workers in the civil service that the organizational aspect of the civil service is lacking. Speak to many people, and I want to hear from Dr. Martin eventually. Ministries are functioning without heads of departments meeting in a structured way to say, well, let's see how the ministry is going and what are our plans. Things are not happening in a manner conducive with the public service. Is the team that works for the country, So when we see every sector of economy stressing, it is a clear reflection of a crisis of governance in Grenada. And the NDC is willing to pull together a team. And gradually, as the team comes together, the people of Grenada will have to objectively look at the options and say, where do we want to go as a country? Where are we now? Where were we 25 years ago? And I believe the people of Grenada are going to give the NDC the opportunity to do it again. Even though, Blossom, I must tell you, one of the things people have been telling me when I go out there, NDC had a chance in 2008, 2013, and they squandered it. And I say, something? We can't go back in history. Gary did things and squandered it. The revolution did things and squandered it. Keith Mitchell is now squandering the livelihoods of Grenadians. And we cannot sit down and say, you had a chance before. We have to look at the now. And I believe that Grenadians are conscious enough to really make the decision in the interest of Grenada.
On that note, Mr. Roberts, let's take a very quick break and then come back and continue the discussion. It is 26 minutes after 9 o'clock, and this is To The Point. We'll be right back.
Grenada Food and Nutrition Council remind you to boost your immune system and give yourself a fighting chance against COVID-19. Consume foods that are rich in vitamin C, like fruits and vegetables. For example, oranges, grapefruit, mandarin, lemon, spinach, cabbage, and tomatoes. Vitamin B6 and folic acid that is found in chicken, turkey, fish, grain foods like oats, bread, local provisions, dry beans, and peas. Another immune system booster is vitamin E, found in nuts, corn, sunflower or canola oils, and leafy vegetables like spinach, broccoli, and kale. Iron, zinc, and vitamin D are also important to strengthen your immunity. So try foods like lean meats, eggs, lentils, mackerel, tuna, and jacks. Our local spices, ginger, clove, and turmeric, among others, can help decrease inflammation and support the immune system. Remember to practice safe food handling. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council, reminding you that a strong immune system is one of the best ways to fight COVID-19.
Understand, it can be hard getting from the bus terminal to the Kirani James Athletic Stadium just to get your fresh fruits and veggies. But guess what? Your troubles are over. Enjoy a free bus shuttle from the bus terminal to the temporary market at the Kirani James Stadium
every Friday and Saturday until the end of March.
Let us buy local, eat local, and support our local market vendors.
Welcome back to The Point, speaking with the Deputy Chairman of the NDC, Mr. Kennedy Roberts. Before we go to the phone lines and the social media, Mr. Roberts, if given the chance, we're starting the fourth year of the current administration. Elections constitutionally due by 2023. If the NDC wins the next election, what would you do differently? And not just differently from the current administration, but differently from the last time the NDC was in office. What would the party do differently?
All right. Blossom, I think that based on all the planning and talking we've been doing in recent times, I believe there are a few things that are coming up crystal clear that must be done. First and foremost, the whole theme, the whole policy of the NDC is putting people first. That concept is going to be translated into practical measures. So, for example, I believe that the state of depression that we're in, we need to look at some serious programs to make us a happier, more prosperous people. We have to try and look at certain ways in which we can try to heal the nation. We have some historical things that needs a healing from Gary. We have to appreciate the role of Gary and what led to the revolution. We have to understand the role of the revolution and why Morris was killed and people were in jail, and that part really needs to heal. And because of all the divisive politics, we need to put a few programs in place to make the national values of Grenada become more prominent. So from in the school system, the saying of the pledge and singing of the school anthem and doing things in a loving way for the country. It has to start from there. The values and the ethics that NDC promoted during the last time when Sister Franca was in the Ministry of Education, these are the things so that element of creating an environment for a happier, prosperous nation, one. Secondly, we have to realize that the private sector and small micro enterprises play a big role in what is going on. Let me just step back first. We're also going to look at the current strategic development plan, the sustainable development that was formed, and really go back to the people in a structured way. So that community interaction to review the plans for Grenada to 2035. While we were involved, and I believe the process had a lot of positives, the reality is when we went out on the consultation, very few people came out. We didn't really get a feel of the needs of the people. And I think this needs to be done. However, the NDC is going to put in place a structured, organized mechanism where we can communicate with the people. A regular forums, and especially now with the online thing, we can use the technology a lot more. So going back to the people and understanding the problems, understanding the issues affecting them and putting it into that plan is a key element. Most importantly, what I call would be the flagship program of the NDC. We're going to review the role of social security. When we look at the concept of social security from the ILO and the UN perspective, it is much broader than what our social security institution does. Everyone has social security needs from birth to death. We're going to ensure that every child that is born will get a unique identifier number that will be a number for your life. Just like the US, UK, and every other country have their social security system with us recorded, we're going to start there. Secondly, we're going to ensure that the programs within NIS is not dependent only on contributions from contributors and employers and employees. We're going to start writing grants to help train people, because NIS is dependent on contributions. So the higher the level of income in the country, the higher the contributions. So Social Security is going to review ways of increasing individual and household incomes, because our income level in Grenada is so small that people are living in poverty, and this government is perpetuating poverty. So we are going to look at ways in which NIS, through grants and through projects and other mechanisms, can work with the private sector in developing the skills of our people for that higher end jobs. We have to look at ways in which the policies of the government is going to make sure that NIS is responsible for programs like the SEED program that is politicized within a ministry. That is a social security benefit that should be given to the people in need, and that should be administered in a non-partisan way through social security. So our social security institution will become the mecca for people's issue, in the same way that the University of the West Indies and others have recommended that our national health insurance be part of social security. That is based on our culture and our reality. What is being done by this government now, coming up with a private sector proposal for health in Grenada, is not going to work. It is not going to work in our culture. So as a result, social security will be given the attention that within 2 years of being in office, the NDC would have gone through the process of planning and organizing, working with the ILO and other experts in the field, because in Central America, in Latin America, the concept of social security is much broader than and more in line with what I'm thinking of. And we are going to develop a system unique for our small 100,000 people. So no longer will be Grenadians going and have a begging sheet asking for help to get a child some medical attention. That would be institutionalized within the Social Security institution. And this is going to be the hallmark program that the NDC is going to make sure affects the lives of people down the road. For our history, and just we're looking at 40 years since NIS and we're looking at its benefits, we're going to, 40 years from now, look at the whole social security system and say, why didn't we do it sooner? So these are just some of the things that the NDC is going to do very, very differently. And of course, the management of the public service, the whole governance, the transparency in which the public service do things, it would no longer be a secret where you get your money to do anything. As we're seeing now, up to today, the government has not come clean with where they got their money from to pay Grenlec. And this is something that we're going to continue to ask them, continue to tell them they need to be transparent with the people of Grenada. And the NDC is going to ensure that our public services run in a manner that it is open to the people of Grenada. It's a people's business. It's not an administration business. It is a people's business. And NDC is going to focus on these few things. Of course, there are a lot of other things we can see: agriculture, the importance of agriculture, focusing on developing our infrastructure, looking at our sea and marine resources, looking at tourism in a different way where it's community oriented and not these mega hotels, that the jobs that Grenadians can get in these places are to go and clean the toilet and clean the garden and make a bed. That is not the vision the NDC has for Grenada. We want to see Grenadians making money that they can enjoy the quality of life. We don't want to see Grenadians and my children and your children depending on a hotel job to clean people's toilets and make up their bed. That is not the vision we have for Grenada. And as a result, I wish we could have done more to stop these mega projects. But God is in charge. And this government has a history of failed big projects, because we know a lot of times is not what the project trying to do, is what they can get from the projects.
At this point in the program, we're going to invite questions, comments, concerns from our viewers and listeners. The landline number 435-2041. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp. And you can continue posting your comments, questions, queries, concerns on Facebook and YouTube. Keep in mind, once again, we have a shortened program because of the broadcast of cricket. So phone callers, if you can please keep your questions to 1 minute or less, that would be appreciated so we can facilitate as many as possible. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my dear sister Blossom. Let me turn down the radio. Yes, good morning, and good morning to my dear brother on the side. My dear brother, I have to ask you one question. The question I want to ask you, the question is, the NDC, what my cousin from Jadbrizon is no longer there. And I want to ask you, my dear brother, I want to ask you what you all want to do when you come in power. Because you don't have no more land to sell. And please, do sell me your hippo. And you, Tati Blossom, have a very blessed day. God bless you. And I love me, dear brother, on your side. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Miss Jacob. Enjoy your day.
Have a nice day, Miss Jacob. God bless you. We both know our history. We both know what me and you go through, and the love will always be there. I am going to make sure that people, not just you as the elderly, but all our elderly are treated with more dignity and respect. A lot of our elderly now are going through tremendous difficulties trying to cope under these situations. And and that is going to be part of the Social Security program, because it's from birth to death. So in a structured way, the NIS, and I say not only through contributions, but through projects, because there are a lot of agencies out there who would give an agency like NIS money to help take care and make sure people like Miss Jacob have a better quality of life as they're coming down to the latter stages in life. We want to make sure that our elderly can leave their home on a day and go to a community health center where they can meet with their other elderly friends and do a little something in the garden and play a little cards and domino and cook something and eat a meal and then be taken back home, rather than them sitting down home for the whole day in boredom. Sometimes they're not able to get a good meal. We are going to do these programs, not a little one-off. At the Christmas time, we give you a meal in a box with a picture on it and I say, well, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your independence, enjoy your this. No, it will be a structured thing so that your quality of life over time will be of a much higher standard. So you have a blessed day, Ms. Jacob. And of course, to all the other elderly folks out there, don't worry. We have programs and plans. So give us the opportunity and talk to your children, talk to your grandchildren, and show them the importance of us moving forward and giving you a better quality of life.
A Facebook question. Can you please help me understand the leadership issues of the NDC? There seems to always be some division or uneasiness with the leadership, which is very concerning. Stable leadership is vital. Can we get that from the NDC going forward?
Well, you see, sometimes man plan and God determine what happens. And in families, as I said, in organizations, we see things happening. So we cannot complain and say, okay, it has happened in the past and it will happen in the future. I'm saying no. We must have faith. We must have confidence in our future. And God has taught NDC a lot of lessons, but I think God is teaching Grenada a lesson right now. And let us hope that the decisions that the NDC will make will be in the interest of Grenada. Let us hope that we're able to pull together that unified team that is based on plans and policies and love for each other rather than the things that divide us more. Because I believe that there are a lot more things we have in common than we have as our differences.
WhatsApp. Mr. Roberts, there were allegations of numerous irregularities at the electoral office, yet no action has been taken. You can have the best team. However, if you don't have transparency at the electoral office, no organization will beat the NNP. What assurance can you seriously give supporters and potential supporters?
Okay, this is one of the issues I had to raise before we end, and this is of tremendous concern to democracy. The NDC has a team that is constantly, when I say constantly, trying to meet with the electoral office, trying to understand what is the plans. We're on the ball trying to get Grenadians to appreciate the importance of going and register. There's such shadiness taking place around the whole electoral process that we intend to make this a major issue. I know other organizations locally are concerned. You know, some of them are concerned that the NDC is not doing enough about the electoral office, but we have lawyers, we have others. I am not directly involved in that committee, so I can't go into the specific update right now, but I wanted the public to know that this is an issue. It's not just about the NDC, it's about all of us, because NDC can't go and register for you. You have to go and register for yourself. So we want Grenadians to take that responsibility to go out there, go and make sure your name is on the list, get your new ID card, and be prepared, because we know in our democracy, election can be called anytime. Dr. Mitchell can come and say next month is election. However, we have to make sure that we are prepared as individuals. So I would urge the person and all Grenadians to take some individual responsibility to make sure that they are registered. Because when the bell rings, it would minimize one more thing you have to do. So we're working on it and hope that we're going to be able to have fair and free election, because this is what a democracy is all about.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning. Mr. Roberts, you seem to be doing very, very well. You see, I'm always asking myself, how are people going to, let's say, defeat Dr. Kit Mitchell? It's only when they have ideas to counteract what they are doing. And you put forth some ideas what the NDC is likely to do should they win, or what they have in store. I admire you. At the same time, you forget to tell Ms. Jacob that you'll make more parties so that should be able to get more food and so on to eat. Anyhow, that's very good of you. I like your all plans. Now, something I want to ask you. Maybe you could tell me, because of you involved in health, what do you mean by somebody retire or resign because of health reasons? Is it of good health or bad health or ill health? Now, this thing is baffling me.
Okay.
That is to me. You give me your friend more minutes than me, you know, Brasa.
Is 1 minute. So the question is what they'll do going forward.
Anyhow, I go commend you, ask you about your mother and your father and kind of thing. Go ahead.
You got the question, Miss?
Well, the thing is, my brother says so many different things that you know what I mean by ill health. But the thing is, people have to know themselves. People have to be guided by their feelings and their advice from professionals. And the party doesn't have a chance to really ponder and to understand fully what next. But what we are saying, what is now? What is now? We're moving at all levels, at the community level, at the national level. We're trying to be in the media as much as we can. We have the newsletter. People are seeing the newsletter out there now. We're trying to do things to target the different demographics. And I believe there's a point coming soon where it will dovetail and things will start to be reflected a lot more in the public space. But I want to assure our supporters and Grenadians generally, because I have a lot of friends who are NNP. People are calling me from in St. George Northeast here and saying, listen, we know the reality on the ground, because, you know, Dr. Mitchell is a strong leader and he has been able to win elections by perpetuating poverty but people have seen the light. I believe we Grenadians are seeing a brighter future, and we are not going to be fooled by petty $20 and $30. We're going to be fooled by a vision.
A question on the Facebook. Somebody on Facebook is asking, where did the question go? Mr. Roberts, the NDC wants to take Grenada forward. What is the problem with joining forces with the opposition leader, Mr. Tobias Clement?
No, we have reached out to Brother Tobias from day one. You would remember after a few of us, including myself, met with Tobias, he came out and he almost kind of make us look at a puppy show. He said, he didn't realize such a big, important team coming and talk to him and thing, and he come out alone when he told us he was coming with a team. We have reached out. We are collaborating with Brother Tobias. I personally have not been in touch with him on a constant basis, but I know that we have common ideas. I know we have a common vision for Grenada in terms of a prosperous economy, a prosperous people. So we have no problem in collaborating with Brother Tobias. On the contrary, we acknowledge the importance of collaborating with other stakeholders, other parties, other groups, other organizations who have the common vision of improving the lives of Grenadians. So I believe at this point in time, the situation is relatively open, because I know together we are stronger, and we are not idealistic and think that NDC can do it alone and it's just a few people. Who is NDC? As I said, we need governance for Grenada, not for NDC. We need a leader for Grenada, not just for NDC.
Back on the WhatsApp, I'm making a pass on all platforms. Somebody on WhatsApp says, I am disappointed with your statement concerning workers in hotels. So many of our people are glad for a job, and look what you're saying. You don't want people to make bed and clean toilets. Is it a crime to do such?
No, on the contrary, I clean my toilet and I make my bed, and I have no problem in us doing it. What I'm saying is the vision for the majority of Grenadians shouldn't be those low-end jobs. So when you have a mega hotel with 2,000 rooms and you hiring Grenadians at that menial level, I believe that we have a vision where our children and our young people and our ladies and our workers can aspire to jobs could be within the tourism sector. But rather than having a mega complex, have a smaller unit in a community where the people can still work within the community, but also have a more personalized loving relationship rather than being a statistic for some foreign investor. So I'm saying that the quality of jobs that we need, I never said that those jobs are unimportant. And on the contrary, anything we do, we should do it at our best possible potential and be the best toilet bowl cleaner or the best bed maker that you could ever have. You'll get better tips. But I'm saying it cannot be the dominant approach in terms of our policy for the future. So I respect the hotel workers, and the NDC respect workers at all levels. We're seeing now the importance of giving the Grenadian people the little 4% that was negotiated. This government is the one that is showing total disrespect for workers, not just at the lower level, but at all levels in society.
All right. Any final thoughts, Mr. Roberts? I know you wanted to make some comments in relation to the 42nd anniversary of the revolution passed on March 13th.
Yeah. Well, we just passed the anniversary, and again, I want to reflect on some of the programs that were dominant at that time. We're still talking about it. We're still talking about the importance of primary health care. We're talking about education and strong primary education, secondary, tertiary. We should be having more Grenadians with masters and PhDs in their fields. We should be having TAMCC being a university. There are so many things we would have evolved into 42 years after the revolution. But again, things went sour, and we can analyze over and over what went wrong, but we need to heal from that period. And that is why Grenada now needs to have a leadership, a governance based on openness and transparency. We want to see more honesty and love in what we do. We want to see plans being presented in a factual way, and we work together. We want to see greater synergy between the public and the private sector. We want to see much more small business thriving. So we hope to target existing businesses and really see how can you go to the next level and really have a focus on people that is lacking now. So I want to encourage all Grenadians to go out there and register to make sure that your name is on the list. We ask you to understand the reality. We ask you to use the opportunity to plant a little something behind your house. You know, I'm moving to another level with my garden, and I've registered officially to get my farmer's ID because I'm going into this thing in a much deeper way. So that is another discussion we're going to have in a couple months, where I'll unveil the plans for a new project. But we have to encourage people to do things to create wealth, to increase their level of income, because we cannot depend on a salary alone to manage our lives. So let us plant more, to eat more of what we plant. Let us look at ways of being creative to see how we can earn a little more, and let's do more with love and respect for each other.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roberts, for being our guest on To The Point this morning. Always appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Have yourself a good day. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. All right.
Thank you.
Deputy Chairman of the NDC, Kennedy Roberts, we thank him so much for being our guest, and thank you, our viewers and listeners, for tuning into To The Point this morning. I appreciate it as always. We are now getting ready to start the broadcast of the third day of the first test between Sri Lanka and the West Indies. Have yourselves an enjoyable Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning, God willing. Have a good one.